Hello everybody and welcome back to another deck guide, this time featuring the new Allure Queen cards. So Allure Queen was a set of level monsters from a long time ago that were kind of trash, and for some reason over the last couple of sets they have been getting a significant support package to make them a playable deck. Note that when I say playable, I mean playable and not particularly good. I want you guys to be under no illusions that this is going to be a fantastic deck, but I find it to be a pretty fun one with some good moments of power and a lot of, oh, that's how that works, gotcha moments for the opponent. And it is, it's going to surprise people because I doubt you'll see too many people playing this, and it can definitely pick up some wins. So, if you're not here for the single strongest deck in the world and you just think that equipping your opponent's monsters on their turn might be kind of fun, then strap in and let's get started. So, our first three monsters are the original Allure Queens. So, how the level monsters work, if you're not aware, is upon filling some kind of condition, at your standby phase, after that condition has been fulfilled, you can level up into the next highest one. So 3 goes into 5, 5 goes into 7. And for Allure Queen specifically, they can equip a monster on your turn that is their level or lower, with the exception of 7. She can equip anything because she's the big payoff card. So level 3 can equip a level 3, and then if she still has that equipped on your next standby phase, she sends to the graveyard to get you a 5. Then 5 can equip a 5 or lower, same vibe. And then if you send 5 successfully, you get Allure Queen level 7, that's the big payoff. This deck's whole point is that they have basically built in errata into the archetype that allows you to ignore all of that. Just be aware that they can equip opponents' monsters of their level or below. That is why they're actually useful. And then we're on to the new support. So, Chaos Allure Queen is a fantastic card. She can send a light or dark monster from hand to special summon herself, and then you can equip a monster from either graveyard, and if you do, this card's name becomes that equipped monster's name. And then if you equipped a light or dark, like all of our Allure Queen monsters, you get to summon one from the deck. And then if you equipped a light or dark, like all of our Allure Queen monsters, you get to summon a dark Allure Queen from the deck. That's normally going to be level 3, sometimes we'll grab the other ones. Chaos Allure Queen is also a light monster, which means that if you grab a level 3, you've got a level 7 light and a level 3 dark. That's a 1-card Chaos Angel, which is pretty gross in and of itself. So she is actually one of the good cards in the deck. Next up is Allure Palace. Allure Palace makes all of your spellcasters bigger and then has a really weird effect. You can send a card from hand to graveyard to either add to hand or special summon to your opponent's field an Allure Queen monster. You can do this 4 times. So the point was that you can grab, for example, off of Palace, like an Allure Queen level 3, summon it to your field, then send another card, put another level 3 on the opponent's field, equip the level 3, flip out for 5, etc. Go on like that. So Allure Palace is really good at fixing a bricky hand and making that hand do what we need it to. And it is an integral part of the combo, it's just so high investment. It also has a very, very useful effect where if you have an Allure Queen that is equipped to a card, you can then, instead of waiting for the standby phase, you contribute it to summon any spellcaster from your deck with 1500 or less attack. So all of the Allure Queens are 1500 or less, and then a bunch of the other stuff we play in this deck is 1500 or less. There's a lot of different cards you can go get with that effect. The idea is that you can use it to rank up your Allure Queens on your own turn to get to the big ones, but we can also use it to get into other engines. And then we have by far the best card in the entire deck, and it's not even close. Allure Dance. If Allure Dance was in almost any other archetype, it would be immediately banned. Because this is a continuous spell that when you activate it, you can add an Allure Queen or Allure Palace from deck to hand, so anything in the archetype besides itself. It also makes it so all of your Allure Queen monsters gain attack equal to the attack of the monsters they have equipped to them, which is cool. It just makes your guys big and hard to deal with, considering their equips will tribute themselves if they got outed in combat anyways. It just, gives protection and helps you close out a game. But then its final effect. Its final effect is that you can send one other spell or trap you control to the graveyard, and special summon as many Allure Queens with different original names as possible from your graveyard. So how it plays out is you activate Dance, grab Palace, go through your whole Palace combo, discarding your hand to put every kind of Allure Queen possible on the field, use them all as link material, use them to go into Chaos Angel, and then once you're done and there's nothing else you could do, activate Allure Dance to reborn 4 monsters from the graveyard as extra materials. So it is Soul Charge that is attached to an archetypal Rhoda. An absolutely disgusting card, and if I'm being quite honest, if you open Allure Dance, this looks like a good deck. If you don't, it's very clearly not. So we're doing our best to draw Allure Dance every single game. Then we play 1 Terraforming to get an extra Allure Palace. If you don't see one of these 7 cards, you don't do very much at all, which is why we play the extra Terraforming for the extra Palace. And then we've got a pretty sizable Witchcrafter engine. So what the Witchcrafters do is you can discard spells to flip out into other Witchcrafters. So what we're trying to do is either flip the Witchcrafters into their boss monsters or put them in the graveyard and then use their graveyard effects to activate some of the Witchcrafters' spells. None of the Witchcrafters special summon themselves, which is kind of their big weakness, and they also require you discard a spell, which is another sizable weakness. But Shmieta here, you contribute her and discard a spell to switch to any other Witchcrafter from the deck, boss monster or more gas. And then, if she is in graveyard, you can banish her to send any Witchcrafter card to the graveyard. And then the only other small Witchcrafter we play is 2 Jennies. Jenny has the same thing, you can discard a spell and tribute her to get any other Witchcrafter, and you can banish her any Witchcrafter spell from graveyard to activate that spell's effect. We play 1 Edel, because Edel can be gotten off of the Witchcrafter's fusion, and then you can tribute her to turn her into any spellcaster in your graveyard, which is pretty cool. We play 1 of Witchcrafter Hane, which makes all of your other spellcasters untargetable, and you can also discard a spell as a quick effect to destroy an opponent's card. Pretty solid boss. We play 1 of Madame Vere. Madame Vere is interesting because she can discard a spell to negate all monsters on the opponent's field, which is really, really strong. She also kind of automatically makes you win combat, because if any of your spellcasters battle, you can reveal any number of spells in your hand and give the battling monster 1,000 attack for each. So even 1 will turn her into a 2,000, 2 turns her into a 3,000, or one of your bigger cards like Hane becomes 3,400 with just 1 spell revealed. That's pretty difficult to out in battle, and the best part is, because you're revealing from hand, your opponent may not even know that you have one to reveal. They might try to attack hoping that you don't, and end up losing. Just a very strong boss monster here that's not too difficult to get out. We play 1 of Witchcrafter Golem Aruru. Aruru will special summon herself in response to the opponent activating an effect targeting a spellcaster or attacking a spellcaster. So she special summons herself, and then you can either return a card from the opponent's field to hand or a Witchcrafter spell from your grave to hand. So most of the time we're using it to bounce something on the opponent's field. Considering we can activate this during combat when the opponent attacks, we can just bounce whatever the actual threat on their board during battle phase is. She also returns herself to hand on the opponent's standby phase. So once you've actually used her, you can use her to attack and everything, use her as fusion material or whatnot, and then she'll come back to protect you again next turn. She's just a really fun, disruptive, attacky card. Then for Witchcrafter spells, we play 1 of Confusion Confession. Confusion Confession is a fusion. It's an archetypal fusion that lets you use a Witchcrafter and anything else from hand or field to just fusion whatever. We're only ever using this to go into one card, and that is the Witchcrafters Archetypal Fusion monster. And this is kind of the payoff to the engine in general, is we are trying to put both Jenny and Shmieta in the graveyard. Shmieta can send Confusion Confession from deck to graveyard, and then Jenny can banish herself in Confusion Confession to use its effect. And we go through all of that trouble because the Witchcrafter Fusion monster, as you'll see at the end of this, is really good. We also play 2 of Witchcrafter Creation. This just lets us fetch any Witchcrafter in the deck. And then either of these cards, when they are in the graveyard on end phase, if you did not use it that turn, so if you say discarded it for like Shmieta to switch into a different one and didn't actually use the effect, it returns itself to hand so that you can use it with Hain or Vere during your opponent's turn. And then the last Witchcrafter card we play is By Street. So By Street, if it's in the graveyard on the end phase instead of going back to hand, puts itself on the field. And that's pretty cool because it's a continuous spell that makes it so if a Witchcrafter would be destroyed, it doesn't get destroyed once per turn. And you can also use it on field as material for Hain or Vere as though it were in hand, even if it's on the field. So it is protection, and once it's done its job as protection, you can send it to the graveyard to do stuff. And that's it for the actual engine. We play 10 non-engine cards, which is pretty low, but this deck demands a high card count. And especially we play 3 Allure of Darknesses, which lets you draw 2 cards and banish a dark monster from your hand, or if you don't have any when you need to banish one, you have to send the entire hand to the graveyard. So we play this because most of our Allure Queens are dark. Hain is dark, and then we can also search something off of Palace to banish to it to make sure that we never actually have to send our hand to the graveyard. And having 3 Allures just helps us dig through our deck to get to Allure Dance. Allure Dance is so important to this deck that if we don't see it, our win rate drops like crazy, which is why the Allures of Darkness are just here to help us dig and try to get to it if we possibly can. I also want to mention the Veilers. Veiler may not be the single strongest hand trap in the entire game, but in this deck it is a spellcaster body, which means we can use it to link into our Link 3 that requires only spellcasters. That's the only reason that we play 2 of instead of other maybe better hand traps like Droll. Extra body is good. We can't really play more than 40 cards because we need to be seeing Palace as often as possible, so 40 is kind of set in stone for this deck. Or really any build of Allure Queen, you have to play 40 because you want to see Allure Queen dance as often as physically possible. Then into our extra deck, we play 1 of Artemis the Megistus Moon Maiden as just a generic link that you can use any spellcaster to go into. So there might be like a weird situation where you have a Shmieta on the field and you need to put her in the graveyard to use her graveyard effect, and that's basically what Artemis is here for. We play a Dark the Dark Charmer and a Line of the Light Charmer, because if our opponent is playing a Dark or Light deck, we can go into these guys as extension. They are spellcasters, so we can use them for material for other things that we're doing as well. We play an IP and SP package. IP allows you to special summon a Link monster, and we're always going into SP Little Knight, which banishes a card on the opponent's field when it's summoned that way, and then you can also use it to protect your board until end phase. So this is a pretty common package, and we just, sometimes have extra Link materials we want to use with them. We play 1 Moon of the Closed Heaven, not to go into Fiendsmith in this deck, but for its actual intended purpose of allowing us to go into Underworld Goddess using 2 of the opponent's monsters. So that's really all Moon does on its own, is you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls, and then if you Link summon a Link 5, you can use that monster as material. So we go into Moon, pointing at something the opponent has, declare that we're going to use that as material, and then we can go into Underworld Goddess using 2 of the opponent's material, because you can always go into Underworld Goddess using 1 of the opponent's cards as material. And then Underworld Goddess negates the effects of all of your opponent's face-up monsters. It's a tower, it can negate stuff coming out of the graveyard, it's just a great card to have. And then our actual boss monster of the deck that we're trying to get into every single time we combo is Golden Allure Queen. So Golden Allure Queen is a Link 3 that requires 3 spellcaster monsters, and if Link summoned, you can special summon any Allure Queen from deck or graveyard, so whichever one, that's almost always going to be either Chaos or a level 3, those are the ones you can use off of this effect. And then if you do that, she gains 1500 attack until the end of the next turn, so she becomes a 4000 attack creature until the end of the opponent's turn. And then she also erratas all of our Allure Queen. She is the next best card after Allure Dance in this deck, because she makes it so your Allure Queens can activate their effects to equip as quick effects. So that means that your 3 or Chaos that you summon off of her is immediately live on the opponent's turn to start eating things. Really cool effect. But that's not even it, because she herself has Disruption. If your opponent activates a card or effect, you can respond to destroy an opponent's card on the field and make all of your Allure Queens unable to be destroyed by card effects for the rest of the turn. So this protects your Allure Queens so that you can use their actual equip effects that she enables. She's just like a huge enabler for the deck that is also a boss monster in her own right, and she turns all your stuff into harder to deal with sort of towers, kind of not quite. Really cool card, and the best part is she's not once per turn on any effect. So we can routinely summon 2 of them, and then we have 2 extra special summons, 2 destructions, 2 protections in case the opponent tries to destroy one in response, just 2 of everything. We could theoretically play 3, but we almost never will have the material to go into 3 of them. And then we play some generic rank 7s, just because we can go into them off of Allure Queen level 7 and Chaos Allure Queen, and Chaos Allure Queen can summon level 7 Allure Queen, so it's not too hard to get to generic level 7s. So Ebonheim's Magician is pretty cool. While he has material, you can detach one to activate a quick play or trap from hand on your opponent's turn. And then if it's sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card effect, you can special summon a Dark Spellcaster from deck, which is going to be one of your Allure Queens, and then destroy a card on the field. We don't care too much about activating things from hand, though we can use Imperm, for example, or we can sit on a Called By and be sneaky with it. But we're more so here for special summon an Allure Queen and destroy something if they try to remove this card. We also play a Big Eye, because Big Eye's just like pretty good, even though he's an old card. So he takes 2 level 7s, and you can detach a material, take control of an opponent's card permanently, but this card cannot attack on the turn you use that effect. So whatever their biggest boss monster is, just target and grab, and it's yours forever. Cool. Cool, you got all the effects and everything. You don't even have to negate them. And then a Master of Blades, kind of similar to the Ebonheim Magician. It's a rank 7, 2700, goes into off of 2 level 7s, and if a card or effect is activated that would target this card, say an Imperm or any, like a Veiler, any way they try to get rid of this card that targets, you can detach a material, negate and destroy the card, and then destroy another card on the field. So if the opponent has a lot of targeting effects and they can't avoid targeting the Master of Blades and still get rid of it, then you get to just blow them out of the water. This card's not even once per turn, so like negate, destroy, destroy, and then they try again, negate, destroy, destroy. Master of Blades is kind of a skill check. You have to play around it super hard if it's on the field, because you will just get blown out of the water if you don't. And then we play the aforementioned Chaos Angel that you can go into off of Chaos Allure Queen on her own, and Chaos Angel is an absolute house. So 3500 attack, and you can summon it without a tuner if you're using a light or a dark. And so we're summoning it off of a light and a dark, which is great because it has the effect that if it's summoned with a light monster, all of your synchro monsters are unaffected by the opponent's activated effects, and if it's summoned with a dark, this card cannot be destroyed in battle. So because we're doing both, that makes it so this card is indestructible by basically any means outside of like a kaiju. And some decks do not play kaiju effects, so it can literally just win you the game on the spot. And also, when it is summoned, you can banish a card on the field. So we are trying to play this on our turn 1, so that doesn't happen as often. But if you're going second and you've got a Chaos Allure Queen, you can go into Chaos Angel as your first play, banish something, it's great. And then lastly, we play Witchcrafter Vice Madam. So Vice Madam is our Witchcrafter fusion monster, and she is an absolutely gross card if you can actually put her on the field. So she reads that when a spell card or effect is activated, or a spellcaster monster effect, you can activate one of these 3 effects, and you can use each once per turn. So, in response to a spell or spellcrafter effect, you can destroy a card, you can special summon a Witchcrafter from the deck, or you can return a Witchcrafter spell from your graveyard to hand. So, since those are each once per turn, you put her on the field. With whatever your first trigger is, you can summon Edel. Then Edel can tribute herself to bring any spellcaster back from the graveyard, and Edel's trigger triggers Vice Madam again. That allows you to get back a Witchcrafter card from the graveyard, say Witchcrafter Creation if you've used it or just discarded it, and then you can also destroy something. So you get 3 cards worth of value off of her on your turn, and then going to the opponent's turn as you're just doing normal stuff, as you're activating your Golden Allure Queen, and your Allure Queen's 3 in Chaos, she's triggering 3 more times on the opponent's turn, giving you just so much value. So that's going to be it for our actual deck profile. Before I talk about the deck anymore, let's go ahead and see some combos. Alright, here we go. So, now we're going to do an Allure Palace 1-card combo. I still start with the full 5 because to use Allure Palace you have to discard basically your entire hand. They're just non-engine that we're not going to use. Here we go. So, first off, of course, we activate the Allure Palace itself, and then we're going to discard any card in our hand to go grab Chaos Allure Queen. Then we can use Allure Palace again, discarding another card to grab any other Allure Queen, so that we can use the Chaos Allure Queen's effect to discard the other one to special summon herself, then equip the other one to herself to get Allure Queen level 3 from deck. Then we can flip the Chaos out into a Jenny. And then we can use Allure Palace one more time, grabbing level 3 specifically this time because we can normal summon level 3. That lets us go into Golden Allure Queen and summon back another Chaos Allure Queen. This is the end board on this one. Once Witchcrafters get support, we can make it a little bit better, but as of right now, here's what we got. So Golden Allure Queen protects our guys and is a destruction. She's also just a huge body that's hard to get rid of. Chaos Allure Queen can eat something from either the opponent's graveyard, which is preferable, or if they're not giving us a target, we can equip something from our graveyard in order to summon Allure Queen level 3, and then level 3 can equip something from the opponent's field. So that gives us a total of 2 to 3 disruptions on this board. It's not the best thing in the world considering it takes 4 cards out of your opening hand, but it's something for just having Palace. Cool. And now for a slightly better combo. This time we have Allure Dance as our 1-card starter, and that makes a world of difference in this deck. So, here we go. Of course, we're going to activate Allure Dance, and we're going to go grab Allure Palace. Then we can activate the Allure Palace and start the combo just like we did in the last one. So, discard a card, grab the Chaos Allure Queen, discard another card, grab the Allure Queen level 3, then we can discard level 3 to summon Chaos, and then Chaos is going to equip the level 3 in order to get a free summon of level 7. Note the level 7 here. Because we have Allure Dance, we are going to try and get as many different levels of Allure Queen in our graveyard as possible before we use that, so we don't just grab another level 3 here, or another Chaos or anything, we're grabbing the 7. So, then we can flip out into Allure Queen level 5. That gives us all 4 Allure Queen levels on board. We can discard another card to get another level 3 to normal summon to go into Golden. Golden lets us summon a Chaos, and now it is time for Allure Dance. We send the Palace to summon back all 4 levels of Allure Queen, and that gives us more material to go into Golden Allure Queen, summon another card because it's not once per turn, and then we can go into Chaos Angel. So this is a significantly better board. We've got 2 Golden Allure Queens, which they are not once per turn on either effect, so that is 2 destructions, and we can actually activate one to protect the other in case the opponent tries to respond to the protection effect, which is pretty cool. We've got Chaos Allure Queen. Again, we can eat something from their graveyard or ours if we get desperate to summon our level 3, which can eat something else, and then Chaos Angel's just over here looking pretty and basically being untouchable any way, shape, or form. So, much better board than the last one, and all it took was Allure Dance, because that's the only card in this deck that matters, really. Cool. Alright, we are back with closing thoughts on our Allure Queen Witchcrafter deck. So, as I mentioned at the start, this is not the best deck in the entire world. You saw, though, through the combos that it can do some really cool stuff. Like, the Showcase is a legitimately impressive combo that this deck can do depending on your opening hand. And one of the cool things is that because Allure Palace kind of does everything on its own, we aren't bricked if we don't draw anything else. Like, we always will have the same combo as long as we have Allure Palace or Terraforming in hand. And that combo's basically the same one we do with Allure Dance, we just get even more off of it. So, as long as you start with one of our 7 actual good starters, the deck, it's like pretty linear and easy to play. So, like, if you don't want to do a ridiculously long, crazy combo that ends in an unbreakable end board, you don't have to with this deck. And surprisingly, the Witchcrafter cards, which are personal favorites that just have never really quite been the best, they're pretty good in this deck. Like, because everything we're doing is spells and spellcasters, Vice Madam has a field day here as long as we can actually put her on the field. And that's not too difficult because we're discarding Shmiedas and Jennies to the graveyard with our Allure Palace anyways, and then we might as well use their effects to grab Confusion Confession, so then if we have any other Witchcrafter on field or in hand, we can always just go into it with our Witchcrafter and any Allure Queen. It's also not that difficult to access the engine because of the Allure Palace effect that lets us trade in Allure Queens for our Jennies. That's why we play 2 Jennies and 3 Shmiedas, just because Shmieda cannot be gotten off of an Allure Queen tribute, whereas Jenny can. So we want to see Shmieda in our opening hand, or the Witchcrafter creation to trade in for her. But, you know, like, being able to use Witchcrafters is pretty cool. No one expects the Aruru to come out of hand whenever they're playing against the Golden Allure Queen and just, like, completely blow them out during combat phase. The Hane is so good. I didn't really mention this during the actual profile. I mentioned that she protects your other stuff, but because your Allure Queens don't die in combat naturally, and Golden Allure Queen makes them unable to be destroyed by card effects, Hane makes them untargetable, which makes them an actual, true, honest tower, where they're just so difficult to deal with, especially because Golden Allure Queen's routinely 4,500 attack. How you gonna beat it? That said, though, obviously the deck has some weaknesses. 10 pieces of non-engine isn't great when we have to play 3 Allure of Darknesses just to make sure we actually hit our piece. So that's like actual 7 pieces of interaction on the opponent's turn, which is basically nothing. Like, if you open 1 piece of interaction, you're never going to stop someone unless their hand was equally awful. We also just don't put that many bodies on the field, so even though I have like the rank 7s, we don't use them very often because we rather have the 2 Allure Queens. Moon of the Closed Heavens and Underworld Goddess are really good for breaking certain kinds of boards, but we still have to put 3 more bodies on the field to use them, and that can kind of be rough if we don't have Allure Palace. Same thing, like IP and SP can clear up our board, but we aren't really trying to use them. Most of the extra deck does not see a whole lot of use. We use Golden Allure Queen, Chaos Angel, and Vice Madam. Those are really what we're trying to do on any given board. The other stuff is just silver bullet options, just in case. But yeah, overall, I think the deck's got a bad rap. People have joked about Allure Queen as an archetype being truly awful, and there's a nugget of truth to it. It's not exactly the best, and I wouldn't even say it's a tier strategy or high rogue or anything, but it is a playable deck that can snatch victory from the jaws of defeat, and put up surprisingly impressive boards. So if you have some nostalgia for the Allure Queen cards, or just level monsters in general, you can do much worse, especially at the price point of this deck. If you take out Chaos Angel, that's half of the extra deck, and it's literally $40 for the whole thing. And you could take out more extra deck cards to make it even cheaper. You could probably get this whole deck down to like $30. And it's only that expensive because the new Allure support like just came out. So if you've got nostalgia and you don't want to pay a whole ton for a deck, this could be a good option. Cool. Well, that's going to be it for this deck guide. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you guys like the archetype, because I do think it is interesting, if nothing else. And I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.